Hello LCSC students, and if you're watching this video, you are enrolled in one of my virtual remote courses for fall semester 2021. I am Professor Eric Martin, and I wanted to, like a week before classes began, to send you this video to make sure that you kind of understood what to expect, how the virtual remote class was going to work, and some things you can do to get yourself organized for it. So let me talk about the virtual remote course for just a second. This class is going to be on Zoom live for whatever your class times are. All right, we're always going to meet on Zoom. I'm going to request that you have cameras on, that you have microphones on, and that you be ready to engage in the class. Okay? Because I think we're looking at the future for some level of like what work might look like in the future and what education might look like in the future, like a thing to throw in the mix, right? This is never going to replace completely in-person meetings or in-person classes. But there's some things we can do with it, including things like allowing you to get a job any place in the world and still kind of live where you want to live, depending on the job, of course, as long as you can kind of feel comfortable with the technology and know how to operate with it. I don't know if it's that simple. So when the pandemic first hit and then we were all forced to Zoom, I actually liked it. And back in the spring of 2021, when it looked like, through vaccinations, we might kind of have this pandemic under control, I asked to continue to teach virtual remote, even though I had the option to do it in the classroom, because I wanted to experiment with the technology when we weren't doing it under emergency pandemic conditions. Like some time to think about it. What can we do with it? As far as the kind of content for my classes, history, philosophy, that content transfers over to the Zoom format so easily. What doesn't necessarily transfer over is my classroom management, my classroom exercises, little tricks that I use to try to get people engaged in the class. I've had to learn a whole new batch of those things. And I've been really into it. And I want to continue to play with the format and see what we can do with this. And to kind of give you just a slightly other perspective too, the role-playing game world, particularly the Dungeons and Dragons world, have been using virtual remote formats for almost 20 years, maybe longer than that, but I've been involved in it for about the last 15 maybe. And in some ways it's better. In some ways the adventures are better to run them virtual remote. Not always, right? So anyway, this is a drawn out way of saying that the gamers have known that there's stuff you can do with this that we were missing out on. So I want to try it out, right? So just to be clear about things, this particular class is not going to be recorded. I can't think of very many things that will be more boring than you logging into class at whatever time your class begins and watching me lecture for an hour. We could just do that with a video. You could do that on your own time. The class is not going to be recorded, but it is going to be an interactive, discussion-based course. Mostly I like the big group discussion, as in the whole class kind of discussing at once, and I'll show you guys how to do that. I'll bring you along. You can't expect students to just be on board with it. That's a very extroverted thing, and I'm no extrovert. But learning how to be comfortable on it is something that we can all do. And so it's going to be discussion based, it's going to be participation based, it's going to be engagement with your colleagues, it's going to be engagement with your professor. You are going to make some friends in this class if you want to. Okay, you're going to have an opportunity to forge connections with other people in the class. I'm going to request that you have your microphones on, your video on, and that you're ready to engage. So that's that part. Let's talk real briefly about things that you're going to want if you don't already have them, and I bet most of you already have them. Okay, the first thing that you're going to want is an okay computer, right? Most of us have got that by now. The pandemic forced us to. You're also going to need a reasonable internet connection. You don't have to have a super fast one. Super fast one will make things a lot nicer. A wired one will make things a lot nicer. But, I ran this stuff off a wireless connection on a pretty subpar system for the first part of the pandemic. That will work fine. LCSC's wireless is fine for this. You don't need anything faster than that. But if you're at home, you don't have very good wireless, there's a couple of things you can do. You can use internet speed checks and see if there's a better spot in your house. You can see you can put on a wire, or you could come down to campus if you have that option. Okay. Video camera and microphone. Most of y'all probably have one built into your computer. They're not expensive. Go get one. If you can't afford one, holler at me. All right, I probably got one in a box someplace. They're inexpensive these days. Also, I don't know that you'll need earbuds or headphones, but sometimes people get feedback. You might want some. Again, you guys probably have all this stuff already. Now, one more thing that I want to talk about, and then I'm going to go here and let you get on with your summer. You could also benefit from a mostly distraction-free place to work while class is in session. If you got a place in your office, if you're already an online gamer, set it up. If you're not, you probably want to try to find some place where you're not going to get bugged. And the LCSC campus, if you live in the dorms, I can't suggest to you enough, get out of your dorm. There are rooms in Spalding. There are rooms in Meserve, I think. There are rooms in Sacagawea that are specifically for students to go to take classes like this. And in the email that you got, there's a link to them. So go to one of those rooms. Set yourself up in that room. Maybe you can use some of the library space and get out of your dorm and here. The other thing too, a lot of people, sometimes, I can't have the video on because, where I live or whatever. Look, man, today we're shooting this out of my basement, right? This is just the way people live. No judgment. And for Zoom, I'll show you a trick because they've got those virtual screens where you can have their virtual backgrounds. And some people's computers do better with those than others, but they have one that's just called Blur that seems to work on a lot of computers, and it's just an easy way to blur the stuff out behind you. Let me see what else I have on this email that I want to talk about. That's about it. I just wanted to give you the heads up that if you need to get a video, if you need to, or a camera, if you need to get a microphone, if you want to check your equipment. Oh, that's the last thing. I'm not going to be on campus with any sort of regularity until school begins. But whenever I'm down here in my basement working on this class, I'm going to fire up my Zoom office. My Zoom office will be listed on the email. You are free just to check to see if I'm in here, right? You'll be sent to a waiting room. If I see that you show up, I'll let you in. Don't wait for more than like 3 minutes, right? So it's just like knocking on someone's door to see if they're around. If you got questions about the class, I'm happy to answer them. If you want to test out your equipment, I'm happy to help you do that before the first day, so it's all squared away. If you just want to meet me so that you feel a little bit more comfortable, that's cool too. Enjoy what is left of your summer and enjoy whatever it is you enjoy doing. I am going to send you a formal announcement the Friday before class begins, probably covering some of this stuff, but a few other things. That's the deal, y'all. Hope you have a good time. See you in a week or so.